Beaumont's ecosystem. And I know that you've spoken with Pam a little bit just about some of the some questions you might have about Freckle. And as I said, Tiyi is one of our national academic advisors, and I thought because of her background in special education that she might be uniquely prepared to kind of help lead the discussion today. So I didn't know if there were specific things that you were curious about.
Just a really broad overview is fine. I mean,
okay,
it's fine. I know that we already have programs and services that that pull into the Freckle model, because CNI uses and that's what I'm more interested in.
okay,
Like how often, how long, what skills does it work on, those kind of things.
okay. And what specific grade levels might you be looking at?
K-12.
K-12.
In
So
our
it is
resource classrooms.
Okay.
So it is for your resource classroom. So you're looking, your resources, your content is content, right? ELA, math, or just ELA, math. And we do have some social studies and science, and I can show you how that connects also to
So
resource.
it would be for, so we have what we call applied in all four of our content areas, and so
Okay.
it's just giving them a resource to use in the content areas.
Okay. All right. Well, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Like Linda said, I'm Tiyi Smith. My background is in special education. I'm actually in El Paso, Texas, and have worked in the largest district here for special pops all the way around. So I started on a high school campus and ended up at the district office for our ELL 504 and special populations. Freckle is one of the things that I like only because it allows me to have kids work on content curriculum like everybody else, right? But at a level that they can really access. And so let me share my screen. I'm just going to give you, oh, I need the host to enable the sharing. Who's host?
Carl, can you do that easily?
Okay, Tiyi, you should be all set.
All right, I see it. So our assessment piece does feed in to our practice piece, and one of those is Freckle. And just like you said, as part of the instructional cycle, we provide the practice as the resource. We do have it in all content areas. ELA and math are adaptive, which means regardless of where the student starts, the system is going to adapt up and down depending on where the kid is on that skill. So they're always going to be working in that just right level and growing. And then of course, you're going to get that reporting immediately to see, are they spending time on the program and what kind of progress that they're making. It is a two-way journey. So the students log in, and however, are you guys using any Renaissance products right now? The
They
STAR?
are. I was trying to see if the executive director of CNI was available, but she's not. I know that we're using a few of you guys' products already.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Tiyi. They have STAR 360 for grades K through 8. They have Accelerated Reader, and then Mayan is K-12.
Oh, okay. All right, then you guys are pretty much set. So basically that data that you're pulling from there is going to feed into Freckle and put those kids on the adaptive path. For the adaptive path, it just sets them up right where they tested and allows them to move at their own pace and gain skills that way. However, you could also, as the teacher, assign particular assignments based on what you're teaching currently, maybe as a preview of what's coming up, or maybe as a review before you continue to teach, right? Like, do you have this skill? So there's two ways to do it, and our dashboards are age and grade appropriate. So even if I have a student that is in 9th grade, but working at a 3rd grade level, it's going to see the 9th grade experience because we do believe in the dignity. That's one of my biggest things, is that we want to make sure that while a student may not be academically here, that we respect where they are, grade and maturity level. So the dashboard does have that. Bless you. And that's what it looks like for 6 and above. We talked a little bit about this already. It's independent, targeted, just in time, and whole class and group work. So a lot of ways that you can use it. The math consists of that adaptive practice, that targeted assignments, has the fact fluency piece, some inquiry-based lessons, and some DOK challenges. The ELA, they have adaptive articles, which is really nice because you can all read the same articles at your level though. Those targeted assignments. For the lower kids, we have the lower levels, grade levels, sight words, and decodables. Word study goes all the way from kindergarten through 12th grade because as we gain vocabulary, we know the English language is always kind of tricky. So you're going to get that word study, and there's even writing prompts in there. And then, of course, there's some lesson planning for social studies and science. These reports, you can actually assign directly from them. So you'll be able to see it buckets kids for you. So I have these kids, they're working at less than 50%. Hey, let's stop and assign them some prerequisite work. I have some kids that are developing. Okay, I can assign them some things to keep moving. And then I have these high flyers that if I don't give them something that's going to extend their thinking, they might get bored. So I get the opportunity to assign straight from the reports. I get to see if kids are working. And then the same thing for their reading level. It's going to tell me by that STAR test where kids are in their reading. So I can kind of see where I'm going to push out some extra instruction or remediation. And then those focus skills are pulled in. So that instructional planning report that you see in STAR, that your CNI person probably sees, or your teachers, you'll also have those standards that you can say, okay, I saw those focus skills, let me pull those focus skills and target those focus skills in my lessons through Freckle. I have just a quick, let me see. I'm gonna stop sharing real quick because I want to go into the product. Do you have questions so far about? No, okay. I'm gonna go into the product itself so that you guys can see. We'll look at the student side first. All right. My internet has been pretty slow today. Okay. So you guys have Renaissance, so your kids probably already have this dashboard. The tab would typically be added was Freckle. When the student clicks on Freckle, what they're going to see, apparently this is a student that's in Spanish, but what they're going to see is their dashboard. When I click here, that's going to be their math adaptive path, their English adaptive path, and then anything that's been assigned by the teacher. So when they go here, I can also establish a goal, and then they also see where their friends are, if you have that turned on, where they are and working. So that's what the kids are going to see when they practice. If I go into, this is what their adaptive path looks like. So these are all based on the standards of the state. So when I go into text and structure, it's going to let me start. It's going to give me an article. If I'm not sure what the skill is, I can click on the skill and it's going to explain to me the skill. I can hear the instructions, or I can highlight or do some closed reading. Then it's going to ask me the questions. And if I get it right, it'll allow me to move forward. If not, it's going to adapt back down. So what you'll see in reading when it adapts back down is sometimes less text, maybe making sure you understand the concepts. It'll ask conceptual questions before and then it'll adapt back down before it moves you out of that domain into the domain below that. That's what the student sees. When I go into the teacher, now I have the ability to go straight into Freckle again from the dashboard. And then this is where you're going to really see how you can use it in a special education classroom. Because the adaptive path is going to let me assign or generate printable resources. From that adaptive path, I'm going to be able to choose kids that I want to work on specific assignments. If I go to the standards, now I can actually see, based on your state standards, what assignments do I want to push out? So maybe we're working on multiplying and dividing by the powers of 10. So when I see that, I can push out, I can print a worksheet, I can do an inquiry-based lesson or a benchmark assessment from there. I can also see what skills or prerequisites are needed and actually assign those. It'll ask me, do I want to keep these questions? So you'll get to preview those questions. I can send this as I can change it to a mini ticket if I just want to check for understanding, an exit ticket if I want to make sure they got it before they left, or I can give it to them as regular practice. I can see only focus skills from the STAR test to see exactly where I want those kids to be working to accelerate so they can connect to curriculum. Every assignment that I get though, I can change anything that I don't, if it pulls up a question, I don't like it, I can change it. So I can see that assignment preview. Maybe I don't like question 6, I can change it to a different question. I can say assign immediately or assign for later. I can copy the link, and maybe if I'm using another LMS, I can do a Google Classroom, or I can just leave it on Freckle and the kids can just log into Freckle and do it straight from there. For ELA, I can also do those standards. So even if I'm working 10th grader, I can choose an article or story. You can see that I can filter by reading level. So even if I have a student that's in 10th grade that's reading at a 4th or 5th grade level, I can still assign an article to them. So maybe we're going to do the Chilean earthquake. This is some of what the article would look like. And this is the concept they're working on. That's the concept I choose, was summarizing and main ideas. So it is connected to the standards of the state. I can turn on so that I'm not testing their reading ability. I want to know if they can understand the content. So if a student is struggling with reading, and that's not what I'm trying to see if they can do, but I want to get that content, I can turn on or activate the speaker so that they can be read to. Tells me all the questions that are going to be there. I also have the option to print, and it also gives me their writing assignment. So if I assign it, I can assign just the reading or I can assign the writing. As you can see here, this is going to be an informative writing. And then it kind of just asks the question, and they can go in once I assign it. I can choose that I do want it reading and writing. And this is where I can say, have it at the adaptive level, or maybe I want to see I want everybody to work at the grade level. I can change it from adaptive to grade level and assign it to all my kids. You see, it's going to adapt to their reading level unless I say otherwise. And I can assign it immediately and I get the same thing. I'm going to see if I want to copy it, Google Classroom. So even through the adaptive path, or whether it's the targeted assignment, the teacher is the one that decides what goes out and what the students actually work on. For the math and the adaptive practice, you can turn things on and off. So maybe the student, there's something on there that the student tested into that you're not ready for that student to learn. You don't want Freckle to be the first to teach it to them. You can turn those off, or maybe a kid likes a particular piece of the adaptive practice that is not high on the priority list of skills to teach, and you don't want them always in there. You want them to work on other things. So this teacher still has control of the adaptive path as well. So the way that I used it in the resource class, I used it as a supplement to the curriculum because I was at the high school level, right? I needed to make sure that my kids they're gonna get credits, right? Because they need to graduate. So I had to maintain curriculum, but I knew that if I had pushed it out at that grade level where everybody else was working, they weren't necessarily going to get it. I was gonna teach, but they may not learn. So I was able to teach curriculum and assign through Freckle. So they were still getting what they needed, but at the level that they could actually accomplish it. And then I could still make sure that we were still following curriculum and that the kids could actually do the work that they needed to do in those special ed settings. Some of those kids I could actually, with this type of practice, move them from a resource classroom into their general ed classroom, maybe with a co-teach model, but enough practice that they accelerated that learning so that they could make contact or they could connect with the curriculum of that age and that grade level. Is there any particular skills, Dr. White? I see you thinking.
I just was making notes. I wanted to know how long were the lessons? What are the embedded accommodations?
Okay. Let's
And
go.
is there any type of does it generate like performance statements that we could go in
Yes.
to
Okay.
add to guide IEP development?
So performance by standards, report cards, and leveling. So if I went to performance by standards, and let me see if I can get, okay. So from here, I can actually see the standard that they're working on, and by student, it would bucket them and tell you exactly that standard and where they are. If they ended up here, then yes, you could definitely go through that standard and say, you know what, student needs to be working on this, right? So I could actually do present levels of academic performance based on some of the information in Freckle. And I could also write goals based on that adaptive path, right? So in the adaptive path, if it says the student is working at level 2, I could actually say, okay, by the end of the school year, that they would get to the next domain. They would master the next domain based on that Freckle information. How long they live in a lesson depends on how if they've mastered, like if they can get through it. There's no time limit on there. So if they don't get 6 to 7 in a row correctly, that's when it's going to adapt back down in math. And if they get the answers wrong to an article, it's going to adapt back down in reading. So there's no actual time limit. As far as accommodations, you can do language supports, turning on and off that audio support. And of course, the level of practice is adaptive. So it's already going to do the accommodating for leveled work because it's going to be based on that student's entrance into the program. And then even after that, it's going to continue to adapt up and down. So you don't have to take off any of the work or modify any of the work because the system's going to do that continually.
Tiyi, could you talk a little bit about how in the math, if the student has difficulty, they might see a short tutorial about the concept, and then
Yes,
math does have some embedded tools for the students.
I did Google a little bit,
Did you
so
see that? Okay.
I'm a little familiar with the software. In terms of pricing, what is that?
The pricing will depend on how many students and which content areas, and I can put that together for you. So if you've got a basic number of students that you're interested in having a quote for, and if you want math and English language arts, or you want all 4 content areas. The math and the English language arts are TEKS aligned. The math has a full Spanish component as well as English. In the ELA, the interface is available in Spanish, but it's not a Spanish language arts program, so all the content that the student reads is going to be in English. The science is aligned to the next gen
National,
science standards, but it does cover much of what's in the TEKS up through grade 8. And then the social studies is K-12, but again, it's not TEKS aligned, but
It's
World War II is
content
kind of
aligned,
World War II, yeah.
right? It's
So-
content, it's like 1860 through whatever, but it's like world geography, US history. And the cool thing about the science and the social studies is it gives a full lesson plan. So if you were supplementing whatever the content was for the gen ed, then you would actually be able to have a companion task to that, because it is actual full lesson planning. The same thing for the math. There's the DOK challenges and the inquiry-based lessons. So you know how some students, if it's abstract and you're just doing it and there's no applicability, they don't really get it. You can give them an inquiry-based lesson that applies directly to something every day, apply it, and then they can work it out as another 3-day type of project. So for them to acquire those skills as well. I will give you an example of what the adaptation looks like outside of, here, let's see. Let me put this.
Actually, I just really wanted to bring overview. I know that you guys
Oh,
were going to
sure.
be in
Okay.
town. And so if you could give me some, we may do a pilot.
Okay,
If you could just send me this PowerPoint and I'll get with the leadership team and see what they think about it.
Okay,
And I already know that we use Star 360 AR and Mayan, so I'll get with my executive director, Christine, and I and get her thoughts.
okay.
Then I will follow up with you. So
Okay.
we'd like to
And,
hear more
and,
about.
and as Tiyi said, what the STAR 360 program is going to do is actually going to place the students in Freckle math and in Freckle ELA. So there's no additional assessment to kind of see where those students would be starting on that adaptive model. So again, if you're looking at, minimizing, additional assessments, those assessments, that linkage is already there. And again, I'm happy to provide you with just some sample pricing if you're looking at all 4 content areas or math and ELA, do you think?
Probably all 4 for second.
Okay.
And then we'll probably run a pilot first.
Oh, sure. We'd be happy to accommodate you with that. And I know you have another meeting at 3:45, so. Oh, perfect.
I will get that together for you. And then if you have additional questions, if you'll email Linda or Carl, I will do my best to answer any of those that you may have. I think when you pilot this, I'm excited to have you do it, only because I see kids grow where sometimes they don't have that connection all the time. And so it just gives them that rich, still they're learning, right? Maybe not this level, but it helps them start closing those gaps. So it's a really exciting thing to do. So I'm really excited that you'll have the opportunity to look at it.
We'll do. I want to thank you for your time and thank you for your time.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks, Tiyi.
You're welcome. You guys have a good day.
Thank you, Dr. White.
You're very welcome.